cosmopolitan, but it just means the world that you guys came out today. And this is my husband Tyler. Hi, Tyler.
Also the parking attendant.
How did Tyler do parking, everybody? Round of applause for Tyler. My name's Chantal, and I'm one of the owners of Good Neighbor Realty. My business partner Peter is right there. We have Realtor Monica here. We have Alexa somewhere. Megan. We're all here. Oh, there you are.
We're all over here.
We have Josh. He's a really tall guy. We have Garrett Newell, who is more than just a slideshow person. Garrett's our marketing director and also a realtor on our team. So today we're just going to talk about why we bought this house, what we did to it. Tyler is a general contractor. He has his own construction company. What's it called again?
Right.
And he did all of the work here, so we'll get into that. So here's our listing. We already talked about Good Neighbor Realty. Let's talk a little bit about like what we bought the property for and the purchase price and the process of buying it. So the property was listed last July in 2022 for 1.1. When we looked at the property, it is a difficult property to comp, but it was very much not worth 1.1. And so my business partner Peter would tell you, and my husband would tell you that like patience is definitely not like my strong suit, and so it killed us.
We came and saw it right when it was on the market, and we were like, we're not going to pay that for it, but we love the property.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so ultimately, we waited until September 9th, or like, I guess it was August that we went under contract, closed in September, and ultimately we went under contract for $915. I will say that that is like kind of expensive for this area. I think that like median price here is, you know, somewhere around $750. Part of that was the fact that this is on a lot of land. So that's why it was as expensive as it is. This is what it looked like before. So we did quite a bit of renovation, and by we I mean Tyler. So maybe you could just talk a little bit about the things that we had to renovate.
Yeah, so we really just updated it. So we painted the entire exterior. We put brand new hardwood floors in throughout the whole main area here and upstairs. Renovated all 3 bathrooms, painted the cabinets, new backsplash, new countertops. So we just updated it. It was quite dated. Painted the stone here, put new lighting in, a lot of new light fixtures everywhere. So just to get it updated and get it to a place that people want to stay. It's kind of like a modern cabin feel now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I kind of wanted to go over like our process of purchasing this. So something that we get to do with our clients is, if you've worked with us before, you've seen our performa, where we'll put everything into a spreadsheet and kind of spit out a number of what you can earn. And so I just wanted to show you guys a little bit of what I did from a spreadsheet perspective. So we ended up offering at $915. We did put 20% down on this. That was kind of a bummer. Like, we actually were working very closely with 2 different lenders, and the goal was to purchase this as a vacation home with 10% down. The company that I was working with to do that is like a smaller company, and they actually looked me up and they were like, oh, we actually think you're going to use this as an investment property, not a vacation home. So that was rude. My interest rate on this is a 5.5 on a 5-year ARM, so that's just kind of what rates were like in the time period that we purchased. We ended up taking out a HELOC from one of our investment properties to just help with the cost of renovation and furnishing and all that good stuff. So our total cash out of pocket was $384,000. 90 of that was the HELOC. And you can see like what we projected here from like a cash flow perspective. Like down here we have like nightly rate and occupancy. And so cash on cash return as well as cash flows here. I would say that we're achieving a little bit more than this so far, and I think that we will continue, but we'll get into all of that later.
Yeah, so here are some other things that I mentioned before that we did to the place. Some things that you don't see are we replaced the furnace, we had to get a whole new well dug.
We found out because we drank the water and felt really sick after.
For like a month. Anyways, that's what that mound of dirt is out there. But we had to do that, and that alone was like $40,000. So something to keep in mind if you're not on city water.
To be fair, we did know during under contract, we did negotiate a large part of that with the seller, but still a big project.
Yeah. Some other things, we updated the electrical panel, and then a lot of the electrical that you see here. Concrete pad for the hot tub, new carpet, we had to get electrical out there as well. The trash was a little bit shocking. So I wanted to touch on some things that you might not expect from mountain property, or that's different from purchasing a mountain property versus like a city property. The trash removal alone was probably like $3,500, and that was 3 dumpsters, labor to load them all up and all of that, whereas in the city you can get it for much cheaper. And that rings true with like all the labor for the projects that you do out in the mountains. You're going to pay like a good 10 to 20% more than in the city, because there's trip charges, it's far away, there's no Home Depot nearby.
And getting them to show up even.
Yeah. Reliability is really difficult and important here. So those are some of the things that are different from owning a mountain property than a city property.
Mm-hmm. I was surprised to perform like that. So yeah, from the design aspect of it, like actually for me, I found a short-term rental, I should have put it on here, in Utah. That was one of the top performing properties in Utah, and they had the black beams, they had like some stone that they painted white, and so I really used that as kind of the avatar of what I wanted this to feel like from a construction standpoint. And we did end up hiring an interior designer. This property was the first one that I had hired a design team to do, and I can't express how important that is. Like, while, you know, I have an okay eye, it's just different when you're hiring a professional designer. They do a much better job, like spatially. I was fully convinced, like during the design process, that this couch and that table were not going to fit. I'm like there with the blue tape, could not figure it out, so I'm thankful that I wasn't in charge of the design. So from that perspective, our furnishing cost was fairly high. So there are really amazing tools out there. There's a tool called Minoan that I'm obsessed with. I don't get paid by them, but they have amazing discounts, like 30% off of like West Elm, Pottery Barn, Restoration Hardware, Arhaus. And so we were able to get some really high quality furniture for deep discounts. All in all though, we spent about $70,000 in furnishing this property. I do feel like you could do it for less. I'm not saying that that's necessarily best practice, but when my designer showed me something, I was just like, I have to have it, and I didn't do the job of saying like, no, we don't need the expensive or whatever. So that is what it is. I am really happy though with just like the durability of everything so far. We've had quite a few guests in here. We have dogs, we have kids. And it's just like has withstood a lot. I wouldn't suggest like a white carpet, that's not best practice, but here we are. Okay, so we're gonna go over some of the earnings and expenses. And I will say, I get this question all the time, like who's coming out here? Why are people coming out here? And really the reason is people are coming out here to have like a true Rocky Mountain vacation. Like they want to be out in seclusion. So there's some very important things to consider like when you're having that type of vacation. People want something nostalgic, and so cabins do really well. If you're gonna go for something modern, it has to be super, super modern. You really can't do like half and half. It really either needs to be like cozy cabin or like super modern and different to like attract the right type of guests. Other things like would include like people want to feel that they're secluded. And so really capitalizing on, you know, if you do have a property that's wooded, making sure that that's like shown in the pictures and then the descriptions. We have 12 acres here, so that's something that I advertise and something that people really like. And then some other things are views. Views are a big part of being successful as a short-term rental host in the mountains. We have a photographer who's incredible, and he took big mountain views off of the primary room. If you haven't been up there, take a look. That one's pretty cool. And then another thing that we did, or again, Tyler did, was he created our views, which was kind of cool.
I still haven't cleaned up the mess though.
I was going to ask you about that, if you knocked down the trees over there.
All those trees are there, and then it snowed like a week later, and this is the first time I've seen it. But we created some views, and there's so many more things that we could do with this property. I mean, we put the hot tub in, but we want to like add a sauna. We want to take advantage of the 12 acres that are here. Maybe put in like a disc golf course or whatever.
Outdoor furniture.
Yeah, fire pit. There's just so many more things that we could be doing. And I want to build a deck over there and a deck off of this one over here, just to really take advantage of those views.
What's the return on stuff like that, you feel like, when you're advertising those amenities through Airbnb?
So maybe a week after we launched it, someone inquired, do you have a steam shower, a sauna, and a hot tub?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't. They took their business
No.
elsewhere.
Yeah, but I think with a property of this caliber, or at least we're wanting it to be a very high-end stay and a secluded kind of nostalgic feel, those amenities go a long way. They really look good in pictures, and they really capture, because we get a lot of our guests are families, or just people coming up from Denver that want
We get a lot of
relaxing.
couples, too.
Yeah, a lot of couples that just want to come and relax and be in the mountains, be in the forest, and sit in the sauna, or sit in the hot tub, or just take a break.
Yeah, I do want to mention like another thing on just being in the mountains and a differentiator from the metro is, you know, when we bought this, we were like, this is on 12 acres. This isn't going to bother anyone. Not so. Like, the communities in the mountains are very tight-knit, they're very small, they're very sensitive to change and new people and rental properties and short-term rental. And so like Gilpin County, when we had purchased this property, they literally just rolled out their short-term rental licensing program, which would allow 2% of inventory to be used as active short-term rentals. There's about 13 licenses left. And there was a lot of uproar in the community. There was people that were very for it, people that were very against it. Our neighbors were not super for it.
They've all been here for 30, 40 years. They don't want anything to change. Like this guy bought his house for like $60,000 30 years ago. And you just can't afford properties up here anymore unless you rent them out. So we had a lot of people that were complaining, well not really, we haven't had a ton of complaints, but they weren't super thrilled that we were using it as a short-term rental.
We were pretty chummy in the beginning and like got to know all the neighbors, and then you know they found out that the short-term rental thing was
just
coming.
spread like a wildfire.
And then we'd meet people and they'd be like, oh, you guys are the ones with short-term rental? Like
So a good idea is to go around all those neighbors, like proactively, introduce yourself, give them your cell phone number, just be nice to them, and tell them the ways that you're going to prevent your guests from partying until 2 a.m. and being loud and being disruptive. So.
Yeah, so some things that we did intentionally is you're not going to see a massive fire pit, and the reason is because neighbors are very nervous about fire in locations like this, and like their primary concern is that guests don't know how to responsibly take care of things like fire. Another thing that we do is we don't have like a lot of lights outside when it's dark, because honestly we don't want to encourage people to be out super late or have that light glaring into the neighbor's yard. We are very clear with our guests too that like the quiet hours are serious because people out here want to be away from people. And so though it's on 12 acres, to them it feels like right next door. So I would say that that's important.
You can hear everything.
Yeah, you can hear everything. Yeah. And so we like very much want to be respectful of our neighbors. We rely on them. Like one of our neighbors is the guy who plows our driveway. And if we get him upset, he's just not going to do it. Yeah, so it's very important that like you are in good relationship with neighbors, especially in communities like this, because our cleaner, our plow person, our handyman, they all live in this neighborhood, and we do rely on them to be able to successfully run this.
And we strategically kind of made relationships with people. Like there's a distillery like 2 blocks down that we go to all the time. We met so many people there to really try to engage with the community and show them that we're not here to completely disrupt their lives, and to make some strategic relationships like the handyman, like the plow guy. So it's definitely in your best interest to reach out to them and try to become a part of the community as much as you can.
Yeah, and if you can't do that, find someone who's already done that. And so we're very open with who we use for all of those things because we want their businesses to thrive ultimately.
How far away do you guys live?
About an hour.
So we're 3.5 hours away from our mountain property. So we've been struggling with the company, so we're trying to figure out who to network with to get everybody up there.
Do you guys completely self-manage?
We do.
That's,
Yeah.
Our
That's
cleaner
what-
is a big part of that.
Cleaner, yeah.
Cleaner and handyman. Yeah, those are the biggest connections. Some other crazy things that happened to us, like in this process, are there was a wild like mountain lion that was like out and killing dogs for months, and so that was another thing. Is people were worried about, oh, is food going to be left out, or are dogs just going to be left out unattended? In a 30-day span, a mountain lion ate 15 dogs out here. And since he's gone to heaven, but he's no longer. But we do have signage, like Gilpin County has some requirements that you have signage about the fact that there are mountain lions. We have that in our descriptions because we would hate to see one of our guests, have their dog like out like Mila was today, off leash. So yeah, there's like some different things to look out for. Okay, let's get into some of the earnings. So our first month ever launching was in March. We ended up blocking off the first weekend of March for family that was in town. March, we were pretty surprised at the traffic that we got in March. I think it was a lot to do with Eldora and spring break. And so we had 13,000 in bookings in March. If that weekend was available, I think we would have hit like 15.5. Just based off of the demand that we have. So our expenses for this are mortgage, HELOC, hot tub, utilities, and cleaning fees. Utilities in the winter are really expensive. We probably spend about $1,000 a month in utilities during the winter just because of gas.
Yeah, so we are on natural gas, which is nice. We don't need a propane tank, although we can put one in. But the natural gas up here is very expensive. We probably spent $400 to $600 a month just on natural gas, and that's just running the stove, the furnace, and the hot water heater. So that's definitely a difference from the metropolitan area as well. The water is free, except for the $40,000. Except for the $40,000 expense that it was. No. Electrical is pretty expensive too. It's probably closer to $800 to $1,000.
Yeah. So mortgage plus HELOC, we're probably all in at about $5,500. We spend about $250 in hot tub maintenance monthly, $1,000 in utilities, and probably another $1,500 to $2,000 in cleaning. So our cash flow in March was just over $5,000. April, I messed up our pricing really badly in April. I had a ton of people check out on Saturday instead of Sunday just because I wasn't looking and didn't pay attention to my rules. So we did $9,400 then. May, we're at $5,740. June, we were at $18,000, and I just had a cancellation 2 days ago for $6,000. But we do think that will probably get closer to that $18,000 mark because we have 2 free weekends available, and June is only half booked. So all in all, we think that the property will do about $160,000 to $180,000 a year, just depending on demand and my skill set with pricing and marketing, which will be cash flow for us of about $50,000 to $60,000.
How much do you think your skill set is worth?
It really depends.
I'm saying like relative to like the average, property.
Yeah.
The average luxury property, just like a luxury property.
Yeah, I think skill set is extremely important, especially in
Like
today's.
$100, $200 a night, $100 a night.
I would say I think that you could swing 30% based off of your aptitude to price, put in rule sets around checking in, checking out, hiring the right people as far as design, photography. I say this a lot, like short-term rental investing is like a science and an art, and like 50% is like we need to find the right home and the right location, but then the other 50% is you as a person who's operating the short-term rental business, your aptitude in managing it well, and if it's not you who's managing it, making sure that you're really getting in with qualified and good people. Here's our calendar, so you can see like in May, I actually got a lot better at pricing. So something that was kind of interesting is like I wasn't getting, like you can see April, how I just like messed it up here. And then I was at $225 a night on the weekdays. As soon as I dropped this to $200 a night and still kept my weekends really high, I got significantly more income. And so like pricing can be like something that, you know, obviously there's tools, there's price labs, but like they have a ton of resources on managing that tool well. And that can be a huge thing for you to increase your revenue just by not missing out on nights because you're $25 too high a night. So that was something that I've learned in this. And here's my sad 8-day booking that's gone. But yeah, the interesting thing from a pricing perspective too is our lowest nights you'll see are $200 a night, and we go all the way up to almost $1,500 on the weekends, and so we do have quite a big swing.
Chantal, have you found a good balance between stricter cancellation policies and like what you had happen in May, like
vulnerable.
July? do you think that guests value the flexible cancellation that much to risk that high of a cancellation?
So I don't know 100%. Like I do see that like if you're not getting bookings, one of the quickest ways that you can change that is by lessening your cancellation policy. And I think now I have it on moderate. I don't know that I'll ever be someone that does like the strict cancellation policy. I just feel that that is too prohibitive, like for my liking personally, and I'm too afraid that we won't, like in this environment, like I think it's important to incentivize guests to book, and so I would probably fall in moderate.
Is there a reason you weren't using VRBO?
I am also on VRBO. Yep. So I'm on Airbnb and VRBO. I am not currently doing direct bookings, though I'd like to. And I'd also like to be on booking.com, but we just haven't done that yet. Gilpin County legislation. So just in short, like you can get a license here, which is great. The thing that I love here is the fact that it's capped. There are literally 13 more licenses left. And so like if you are serious about this location, like the time is very much now. I think that those licenses will probably last us another 2 to 3 months. There's very little inventory that becomes available in Gilpin County. So that's one of the biggest challenges is just like, even if you want to buy here, there's just not a lot of homes. So be patient, but also like our home sat on the market forever because it was ugly. And so if you are someone that has the vision to be able to do some renovation, it can go a long way here. Speaking of which, there are a couple of homes for sale that I just like picked out that are homes that are actively on the market in Gilpin County that I've been watching. Something that's kind of cool in this area is we are getting like some brand new builds that have like really beautiful mountain views, like really high-end finishes. You're gonna see properties here on the low end at like mid-5s all the way up to 1.5 in this area. We did decide to kind of go for like more of a high-end experience in this, and it's been really great for us. Our guests have been like very easy to work with. I will say like one thing that's different in a good way in the mountains is people who come to the mountains, they expect a mountain experience. They don't want to be bothered. They don't want to bother you. So we don't hear from them nearly as much as we hear from our metropolitan guests. So yeah, this is a cute little 3.2 that's on for $575. This one's on for 1.2. Revenue here like is anywhere from like a gross revenue perspective from 80,000 on the low end all the way up to 180 to 200,000 on the high end. And so like for us, it's really important to find an avatar of what you're going for from like a revenue perspective and find a house that can compete with the top performing properties in the area. Any questions?
How many bedrooms is this? Bedrooms about?
It,
Technically 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, but we turned the lofts into a bedroom as well.
So it sleeps on Airbnb.
8.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you guys appraisal meet about it?
it did. It weirdly
so you guys-
came just on the nose.
So you guys didn't know that? Oh, really?
No, I mean, they wanted 1.1 for it.
Okay, cool.
It's at, they dropped it down to 989. It's at, we put in an offer at 915. We originally offered 900, and then we went up to 915.
Yeah, and that's kind of an interesting thing to think about too. Like, I am someone who is like very much long-term thinking. Like, when I purchased this property, I felt really good about the legislation. I felt really good about the fact that I could get a license, and I was more concerned about the fact that I might not have the opportunity to buy an A-frame while there were still licenses than I was about, you know, getting it at exactly the price that I wanted to. And so I will say that like we did make some concessions like with the seller that like I wouldn't do necessarily in Denver Metro. Like they gave us 20 grand for the well that ended up being like 40,000 to like replace. And so for us, like I did not want to miss out on the opportunity to have a property that we loved. Like this is kind of a have your cake and eat it too property for us where we get to visit it. And we could see ourselves doing that for many years, but also it's a great income generator for us. It's $50,000 to $60,000 a year. So I didn't want to sweat losing, you know, a little bit on price or even on some of the inspection items, because I think ultimately you can lose on an opportunity that can serve you for years and years and years to come.
Yeah, and something we always preach is buy a property that you love, that you want to stay in, that you're not afraid to invest a good amount of money into, because that's what we did with this property, that's what we've done with all of our properties, and we just love it. We take care of it better, we want people to stay in it, and we stay in it. We enjoy it as well.
If you guys were to refinance it out after you guys put in all this effort and work, I mean, you kind of have an idea about what the ARV would be?
I mean, it's really hard because it's like such a different property. Like
The
12
land skews.
Yeah, it kind of like
that.
skews stuff. I think that like with everything, I think that we could probably do about 1.2 on it.
Do you guys have plan to build a new cabin in the 12 acres?
Kind of, yes. But like I said before, we have a lot of dreams for this property and the rest of the land. So we would. Did you ask if we wanted to build something here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Our idea is to build another, maybe a smaller like ADU A-frame, maybe like a 4-person one.
Was
somewhere.
that a decision maker for you to buy this property? Like
Not for this one, though. It is something that so we have an ADU at one of our other properties that we built. And ultimately, Gilpin County is pretty unique in the fact that they do allow you to have an accessory dwelling unit, and they actually do allow you to have 2 active short-term rentals on a parcel. That's very unique in this county in comparison to others. And so because of that, I think we would. I think it will likely be a large project and will probably cost about $350,000 to complete something like that.
Have you booked in the winter yet? Through the winter?
Not yet, no.
We launched.
season?
We launched in January, right?
Like end of February.
Oh, end of February.
We're wondering how ours will do in the winter.
Yeah, so seasonality wise, like our strong season in anywhere that's not like a ski destination is typically from June through October. I've gotten a ton of people asking me about September here because of the leaves changing. So some things in the area are like the scenic byway, and like that's going to be like a very critical month for us. And then this low season is November through February. I do think because we're close to Eldora,
Yeah.
that we'll have somewhat of resilience just based off of March, because March is not typically high season.
Sure. Yeah, you definitely will.
I hope so.
I'm sure.
And the leaves are gorgeous out here. If you have 10 minutes to walk around the property, there's a whole aspen grove down here. It's going to be gorgeous when the leaves change.
Yeah, so I mean, like some things that we would love to do as well is just like elopements here, but like all of this comes down to keeping our neighbors happy. This is probably the most disturbed that they'll be since this has been.
And we like sent them a text beforehand. They didn't text me back. We'll see.
You'd see a couple eyeballs.
I was getting here in the winter. Does it usually get snowed in?
No, so the county maintains this road really, really well. And another thing that we really like about this property is our driveway is not bad at all. The previous owner said they had a two-wheel drive vehicle and they never had an issue with it. We still recommend that people have a 4-wheel drive vehicle, but they didn't have any issues with it. Of course, you don't get the views with like a super high property that's with a really steep driveway, but that's what we really liked. I would prefer not to get calls at 2 a.m. or whatever saying that the people are stuck. So.
Did you build a hot tub?
No, I had a company that we purchased another one from that same company. It's sweet.
What company is it?
Cedarwood Spas.
Don't tell him we recommended because he's not very good and we're not happy with him.
It looks
He's
awesome.
getting better. He's getting better. He's a newer company. He's already had to replace our first one, but he's learning. So we do love it. We do love it.
Is that part of the hot tub maintenance slide too, just the replacement?
Yeah, the replacement.
He's replaced parts on this too. At least he did it for free. And this past time we were in
It's his
Mexico.
reliability. That's the thing with him.
It was tough, but he did it for free.
It's not Poncho servicing us.
No.
Okay.
Oh, well, Pancho does service.
He comes all the way
Yeah,
out
He
here.
comes out
He's got a whole
for-
route.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's got a
awesome.
whole route out here.
Awesome.
I know you might have the disc golf course, but or do you have to fuss with the 12 acres beside that? Do you do anything else?
No. Well,
Fire mitigation.
yeah, so fire mitigation is one.
Uh,
Now that the snow has melted, there are definitely some things that I'd like to address,
yeah.
but not much. I mean, there's no grass to mow. Fire mitigation is the biggest one.
What would you do for fire?
You hire someone to come in and cut down like dead or dying trees. Yeah, it's not so it's really, really dense right here. It really shouldn't be that
You're supposed to have
dense.
one every 15 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Supposed
So just like
to.
once a year you bring someone in to.
Yeah, we do it ourselves on our property, but yeah, you're supposed to. It's
Our
not-
neighbor also
yeah.
does that. In the summer, he does fire mitigation. In the winter, he does plowing.
Yeah, that's kind of the cool thing about like just the people that live here too is, you know, they really take advantage of seasonal jobs. Like they might be doing, you know, Eldora like during the winter, and then they might do fire mitigation or plowing. And so this year was actually kind of hard for the community because it didn't snow that much. And so Eldora was affected, like the plow people were affected, so.
And I don't know if your county has the same program, but Jeffco will actually do it for you, and then you give them the wood for free. I don't know if Gilpin County has the same
Oh,
program.
that's good to know.
Yeah.
They have free like slash drop off, which is basically all the branches that they can bring the wood to for free. But I don't know about that.
Yeah,
Maybe,
yeah, ask them.
maybe our neighbor just.
I think you have to have a certain size acreage though before they will do it, like 15 or 35 or.
What do you do every 15 feet?
You're supposed to only have one tree every 15 feet for like forest health, but I think that's the ideal. They don't require.
I'm never gonna do that. But it shouldn't be that dense. That's a really bad spot right here. Which is another reason.
Like in the air, like you need to fly
Who knows? But that's another reason why people are so fearful of fires out here, and
Yeah.
with good reason. Because wildfires do come through here.
Do you have to worry about like pine needle litigation with all that stuff, or?
We
Maybe.
haven't yet.
I'm not gonna rate.
Don't stress the man out.
Well, I'm just asking because our property has 28 pines on it, so
Yeah.
it's a similar scenario.
Yeah. One thing we did do, or the previous owner did, was move all the firewood away from the house. Not only for fire issues, but also for like, bugs and stuff, for insurance purposes.
Michael, you had a question.
Are there other counties that you're bullish on or that have like limited licenses similar to Gilpin?
Yeah, there's quite a few that like, so for us, like our investing strategy has always been to, you know, go in multiple different locations throughout the state just to diversify. And that kind of is forced as well from a legislation standpoint is like so my parents and I ended up purchasing in Clear Creek County when they were still had licenses available because I knew that cap was going to be closing. Right now, Silverthorne has like a cap that is closing shortly. Frisco also has a cap like within town that's closing shortly. I'm really interested in like west of Colorado Springs these days from like affordability and demand standpoint.
That's where ours is at.
Oh, that's where yours is at. How's it doing?
Killer.
Really good center.
We're booked all through the summer, so.
Yeah,
Awesome.
It's hard to find skilled
agreed.
Yeah.
people in general.
Agreed. Yeah, similar to here. There's some interesting stats too, just about like small rural like mountain towns. Like I get asked all the time, like, why are you buying like outside of ski destinations? And part of it is like, if you're buying under $1 million, like it's almost impossible to get a single family home in ski destinations. I very much believe that single family homes like far outperform like the condo market, and like these rural like towns are known locally, and you'd be surprised at how many people out of state end up finding them as well. And I think Airbnb has really done a shift towards like getting people out of just like, you know, Breckenridge and like the things that, you know, everybody knows about, and into places like Rollinsville, Colorado.
Right.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for coming. For real, we have so much food, so like take a burrito, give it to a friend, have a mimosa, meet someone new, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
If you guys do want to walk around, there's like a whole horse trail that just is big loop. It takes like 10 minutes.
And
Are you gonna tell people how to
do you guys meet regularly? Do you meet regularly?
Just our group.